Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Meghan Stark if you're new around here, and if you're not, welcome back. Lovely to see you. I've been doing this for many years now, and it's always cool to see someone leaving a comment saying that they've been watching for like 3-4 years. So it's a brand new year, and while I'm not going to be pulling any new year, new me stuff around here, I did want to open it up to a Q&A, and specifically I just wanted to talk music because I got a lot of opinions about it. So I had you guys submit some questions on Instagram, and we're gonna chop it up today. Obviously or maybe not so obviously, it's still the dead of winter in Wisconsin, so there's not a whole lot of riding happening, even though we have been having some kind of nice days, 40-degree days and stuff like that. It all kind of depends on how salty the roads are and if it's raining or not, because it has been raining quite a bit. So I haven't been doing as much riding and likely won't be getting on the roads a whole lot until maybe April or May. We'll see about that, unless I do a little bit of traveling. So we're just gonna get cozy this winter time and do some chill, laid back stuff. Yeah, let's get into these questions and ring in the new year with some hot topics. Mike P on Instagram asks, top 5 on Spotify Wrapped. And actually, I have to say my Spotify Wrapped this year is a little bit botched because I accidentally did a little too many chill wave compilations. So there's 2 artists on here that I don't even know, but I must have listened to enough in these compilations that they appear on my Wrapped. My top artist this year was Slenderbodies, which I was not surprised by whatsoever. It turns out I'm in the top 0.5% of people who listen to this band, so I'm one of their biggest fans, so that's exciting to learn. Number 2 is Alalas, which I'm not surprised by that either. The bands that end up on here are the easy listening or ones that I can just constantly play no matter my mood, and they fall into that. Number 3 is Kevin Morby, and then the 4 and 5 that I didn't recognize were Stapes and Gobi. And they do make good bops, but it's all instrumental stuff. Yeah, that's my top artists of the year, and I have ranked among the few, the proud, the brave at the top of the Slenderbodies fan list. So proud about that. And if you've never listened to them, you should. Cookie Crisp, which is Chris. Hi, Chris. He asked what my favorite record of the year was. I loved, which was maybe not a huge surprise, but slightly a surprise, I loved Tove Lo's new album, Dirt Femme. I thought it was really, really excellent, top to bottom. I don't know, I've always loved her music, how she operates, but especially thematically this year, the album was so great, and I'm kind of growing up with her. So the album has big 30-year-old energy where you're trying to figure out a little bit how you want your life to be and how a partner fits into that. Granted, some people do that earlier on, but a lot of this generation is doing it in our 30s. It's just really beautiful music and interesting stuff, and you can dance to it. So I've loved that album. And then Slenderbodies released an album this year, which was really fun. It's a huge album, and it's excellent. I love everything they do so far. And then Spoon put out a really fire album. That was the Lucifer on the Sofa one. So I'm cheating, I'm picking 3. I'd almost say the Tove Lo album is number 1 for me. And yeah, lots of interesting stuff coming out lately. No one asked me this, but one dud of this year I have to fess up to is freaking Panic at the Disco. I appreciate the experimentation. I appreciate the theatricality, the kind of Talking Heads energy. There's a couple other he scores a lot of movies too, and he did that Little Girl song. Oh crap, why can't I remember him right now? Oh, Oingo Boingo, gotcha. What's the guy's name though? Whatever. It has a little bit of that energy in this just kind of psychedelic theater kid kind of stuff. While conceptually that's kind of interesting, and they sprinkled in some Queen, and obviously Brendan Urie has phenomenal vocals. It's not listenable. It's not enjoyable. It's not something that I'm oh, I'm gonna turn this on, I'm gonna get ready to go out. There's albums like The Wall that they have a big message, they have tonal shifts, they have a really interesting complex musicality to them, and they're still very listenable. I want to tune in to that album and enjoy it. But the new Panic album, I just couldn't grasp on anything. Or a song would be going really well and then it would just get derailed just from just a little bit too much happening. I would seriously doubt if there were any big popular tracks that came out of it other than the title track that they went with. And even that, Viva Las Vengeance, it just feels not a strong concept for an album that feels like it's trying to communicate something very particular. So anyways, Panic at Disco Rant aside. I have a lot of opinions about it because I used to love the hell out of this band, and then the past like 4 or 5 albums, maybe not 4 or 5, the past 3 albums at least have just been like, oh, not last two barely listenable at all. And it's about 50-50 on the one right before that. I think that was the Death of the Bachelor was like the last thing I could cling to. Death Rattle. Oh no, I believe in Brendan Urie. I think he's a phenomenal musician, and I think they'll come back around. Anyways, so next question that people actually ask me. Favorite vinyl. This is gonna be, I'm gonna take this from the perspective of, it's not literally my favorite album, but maybe my favorite vinyl that I own. My vinyl collection is by no means comprehensive. It kind of is all stuff that I happen upon. I don't seek it out online, so if it finds me in a very seamless and frictionless way, then it'll enter my collection, or if I steal it from my dad or I get gifted it. So that's how I have a lot of my albums. If I had to pick a favorite older album, it would be Waiting for the Sun by The Doors. I mean, I don't even need to explain this. I don't need to explain The Doors. Okay, there's a lot of reasons to like vinyl for a certain reason. One thing that you get on vinyl, obviously that you don't get on digital or like CDs and other things, is I guess sometimes CDs, you can get like printed vinyl. And so one of my favorites, I don't even have with me, I think it's at my parents' house and I have to grab it. Maybe I can get a clip before I put out this video, but it's sewn together by the Meat Puppets. And it's a favorite because they sign the hell out of it for me. Long story, maybe we'll get into the Meat Puppets one day, but I do know them personally. The album itself is like beautiful in Technicolor and orange, and it looks like marbled. So that's really cool and I really dig that. And then in terms of another album that is just straight up kind of fun, I mean, obviously the music is good on this too. Freaking Black Keys Attack and Release. No. Ow, embarrassing. Black Keys Magic Potion. And what's fun is on this is like there's this, you know, the little like egg artifact cover, gorgeous back art. And then on the actual album, it's being fried. The egg is being fried. So I think that's super fun. Just a little detail that you get on the physical albums that you don't get. Oh yeah, and then they have the big vinyl sleeve also has the egg on it. So I don't know, I think that's fun and rad, and I like when people just consider the vinyl as its own kind of art piece, and it's a great graphic design opportunity. So when you can meld design and music, I'm there for it. And I even have actually a whole book of like 1,001 album covers. So that's pretty cool to look at and get some inspiration from. So that's my favorite vinyl that I have on hand right now. If I had to pick one that I would like to own and I would probably play all the time is Thick Freakness by the Black Keys. Love that album. I cue it up on Spotify all the time. And it just has this like grittiness that I feel like would be fun to have on vinyl. I don't have like a crazy record player. You know, that's not really my specialty, is collecting, or realistically, I consume mostly digital music because that's most convenient, and then we don't have to own and buy everything. Jesse James Kuhn has asked me if I listen to music when I ride, and I don't. I like to just listen to the traffic around me. I suppose if I went on a really long solo mission, cross-country United States, I'm sure I would listen to a little bit of something. I like to just hear the sounds around me and not be fed media for a little bit when I'm riding. Dr. Sarcasm1 asked me, who's my favorite artist and what record am I constantly playing? That's like a really tough commitment to make, and I refuse to do that. So I have a lot of favorites. I'll say my favorites lately. It's pretty accurate that I've been listening to a ton of Slenderbodies. Albums I'm constantly playing, I always end up coming back to Cage the Elephant. Tell Me I'm Pretty is super duper mega excellent in terms of like newer albums. And then what the heck? Oh, Social Cues. That's what the album is called. Oh, always pulling up Plastic Beach. That's a really good one. Gorillaz Plastic Beach. I was reminded because I have something else reminded me of that, but Gorillaz Plastic Beach is just top tier when you want like concept album that's listenable, that has variety. I mean, of course, Gorillaz always has variety, but wow, Plastic Beach just stands the test of time. And I think that came out in 2011. It was like perfect time in my life. And then I come back to it now and I'm like, that still slaps. So what's the best concert you've attended? Colton Thomas asks. I did actually talk about this in a different video, which I'm like allowing that to retain the crown of maybe best concert ever. But this year, Dan and I, or last year, I guess, Dan and I saw Slenderbodies in Chicago, and that was phenomenal. It was a really excellent concert, and I loved it. Oh, you know who else was really good? Saw Kevin Morby. It's just like I'm regurgitating the same stuff, but I'm in a cycle right now, and that's who's in rotation. I saw Kevin Morby with my dad in November, and that was phenomenal. And I feel like we are in a great like early adopter stage, because my dad was shocked that he wasn't at a bigger venue. It was at just Turner Hall in Milwaukee, and I don't know what the capacity is there, but he could have filled out a much bigger venue. His whole band, like everybody together, blew it out of the water, and I wasn't even expecting it to be that caliber. I thought it would kind of just be him and his guitar doing his thing, but they just made like a really robust show, and I appreciate them for that. And in that similar vein, Big Man 4x4 asks, what's an artist that you think more people should listen to? And I'll give you Kevin Morby, Slenderbodies, and I'll throw in Ty Segall, because I was just like looking up who's putting out new music and just like running through some stuff, and I thought of him. And I was actually surprised how few Spotify listeners Ty Segall has. So if you want to check him out, highly recommend. Can't really think off the top of my head. I mean, if you like Grateful Dead, or if you like the Black Keys, if you like kind of classic rock and blues, but like nice and gritty, I think Ty Segall does that. Jake Bugg, like kind of that type of sphere, you'll really dig him. And he's got that kind of like really unique voice. You know, it might be an acquired taste for some people, but I think it's great. CPT Dread Flint says, you're taking a cool video of your Ducati. What music is playing in the background? And I probably just like take it easy, take an easy hit and say Glass Animals, always bangers all the time. That's another band who, you know, I'm always coming back to their music. Now that I think about it, Life Itself, How to Be a Human Being. That's what it's called. That album is so re-listenable. I mean, all of them are, obviously, but that album was really fantastic, and I think was like a really distinct step forward in a more unusual space for them. And of course, their album, was it like Zaba, something like that? It has like Toes and Black Mambo and like Gooey. That is a really fantastic album. Super easy to queue up again and just listen over and over again. Oh yeah, and in terms, you know, I already talked about all this shit, but in terms of new albums that I'm still like mentally processing, I wrote this in my notes because I'm still processing them. There's a new Mars Volta album that is just like, talk about heady music that I need to spend more time with. I want to like listen to that a couple more times. And then Alt J put out an album that was like a lot to take in. It was like their, you know, the new Abnormal by The Strokes that came out. That was like perfect pandemic album. And I feel like Alt J put out their pandemic album this past year, and I'm still taking it all in. It's like a behemoth of an album to work through. And then Florence and the Machine put out a new album, Dance Fever, and I only got like halfway through it. I feel like I do like Florence a lot, but she's not someone that I'm just gonna keep like reaching for on a day-to-day basis, you know what I mean? Like, I remember I was listening to Florence and the Machine during college once, and someone's like, can you turn off that funeral music? And that was like the Lungs album, I think, or maybe the one right after that. And now I do really, I hear the funeral music. I hear the funeral music. Man, other albums, now I'm thinking about albums I listened to a lot during college, or bands that I really grew attached to during college, and The Decemberists is one of those. They can't get old for me. If we're, you know, we're talking about contemporary artists and not like classics like, you know, The Doors, Pink Floyd, Rolling Stones, shit like that. You know, when it comes to like newer artists, that's who's constantly in rotation. And I could talk about this forever and ever, but I will spare you that, and maybe we can talk about music at some other date. Even if you're typically here for motorcycle content, I hope you enjoyed this little chat. I'm definitely trying to bring a little bit more variety into this channel and see what people are into. Hopefully you're just into hearing what I want to talk about, and we'll still have fun. Stay tuned. I'm sure I'll be doing some gear related videos soon. I know I have something in the works about leather jackets. Yeah, I just want to keep doing interesting stuff for you guys. So with that being said, subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.